Yeah. All right, Rick, you can start the recording. 7 o'clock, so we're going to start this meeting, calling it to order. Start the recording, please. And the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, will you please do the roll?
Trustee Eipert. Trustee Frank. Trustee Abeglin.
Here.
President Lenz.
Here.
Trustee Dorwart.
Here.
Trustee Searing.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public comment. I remind you that public comment is limited to 5 minutes. So if you have something you wish to say, now's the time. No one? All right. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, consideration of the vacant trustee position. Administrator Jenkins, would you please talk about the process that we're going through?
Sure, I can give you a summary here. So at the last meeting, we talked about how there's a vacancy on the Board of Trustees. We asked you guys how you wanted to handle it. You had advised us that you wanted to give it a couple weeks, let individuals apply for the position. They had till last Monday or this past Monday to apply. We had 2 applicants, Shane Van Roo and Jackie Burmesh, who have applied for the position. And then really what you would do from here is up to you. We've outlined it so that there's an interview time. So if you guys wanted to ask questions, you could do so. You have some sample questions there in front of you that President Lenz, I believe, is prepared to read. And then from there, you would make your appointment. So that either can be done by voice. You can make a motion and second to appoint so-and-so, or otherwise we do have ballots. We are able to go through a ballot process. Keep in mind, there's not complete anonymity. There's still open records rules and things like that. So we still need to know which candidate each of you would be voting for. But we would tally those together and we can do it that way as well. So whatever you want that process to look like, it's your process, it's your board, and we can go from there.
Thank you very much. So I think the first thing to do would be to have each candidate introduce themselves to the board. Jackie Burmesh, would you like to introduce yourself to the board, please? If you want to do it seated.
Jackie Burmesh, and I've lived in the community since 1992. I do have previous experience with the board. I was a trustee. I did various community assignments, including working on upgrading and find out what people wanted for activities. Did they want a swimming pool? Did they want splash pad, library, or bookmobile? I served on a lot of other committees, including streets, recreation, and I do have 5 children at home. They're all grown. And a lot of the other activities I've been active in the village besides that. So was formerly on the library board for Suffolk County, and I worked a lot with the various volunteer groups.
Thank you. Mr. Van Roo.
I'm Shane Van Roo. I've been in the village a little over a year. I'm here with my wife. She grew up here in this village. 26, so I'm a little young. Have no experience in private government, so I'm definitely interested in having the opportunity to get the experience that and be able to do that. My only leadership goals have been, in school and in sports on, football teams, basketball teams, and things like that. Small business owner as well in the area, and just looking forward to again have the opportunity to be able to participate and experience something like this.
Thank you. We do have a few interview questions here that we can ask. The first one has been kind of covered by your introductions, I think. Tell us about your background and experience. So why don't we move on to the next one? What do you see as the role of a village trustee? And we'll start with Shane. And how do you interact with the administration, staff, and public?
Yeah. So I guess the role of a trustee at a base level is making sure that you're a good steward of the community, whatever decisions you are making. and making sure that we're thinking about, what's right, not just the opposite, what's right, not just, what do I want or what does people on the board want, but thinking about the community as a whole. Making sure that, I'm a man of faith, making sure that that plays a part of my decision as well. When it comes to those tough decisions, whether accept or reject something. In terms of interact with everyone else, treat everyone with respect, honor, honesty, love your neighbors, want to love yourself.
Thank you. Jackie? Same question.
Well, as a trustee, as I've done past, as Shane mentioned, you're a voice of the people. Find out what they want, they come up to you, and you don't know the answer, you can follow up with it and ask, or you can direct them to the appropriate channel, such as the office chair or other things. Working with the board, you need to discuss everything, obviously, most of it is at committee levels, and then follow through with it. I can see the future of the village growing. I'd like to see some of the projects, like some of the residential areas that didn't per se happen. I'd like to see those apply, and go forward with that. And of course, the board and the administration all.
Thank you. Are there any topics or areas within the village that you are most passionate about? We'll start with Jackie for this one.
Well, the growth for one thing, that's really important, because that brings more money and economics into this area, as well as with the school district. It will increase the number of students for the school district, and it will help them become more established. There's a lot of things that are available in this community that you don't have in other areas. The other thing that I really liked working with was the Parks and Recreation Department. I know currently the program, what I believe happened is being co-run with Port Washington. I know that that can be a program that can be built upon, and more activities can be offered depending on what the board is doing and or what response you get in the village to work with it. The other thing that I really like working with is knowing what's going on with the communities, like the streets and the, like when they think about the sidewalks. And I know they always used to go through and evaluate, and I know they're doing that now, which is great. Because a lot of people that are in our village are unable to walk on uneven sidewalks. So the safety of the village is what would be a top.
Thank you. Shane, any topics or areas that are passionate for you?
Yeah, piggyback off what you just said, number one would be safety, that's a big thing, especially as you mentioned sidewalks, very important. Making sure people are taking care, especially when they're cleaning up, making sure that everyone has access, there's no basic snow sitting there for days, that's the thing I've heard in the past, a lot of business. And also just making sure that we're being as cost efficient as possible, trying to keep things as affordable as possible for the village residents here.
Thank you. You haven't been here very long, but hopefully you've been following what goes on. Are there any decisions that the board has made in the last couple of years that you might have done differently?
Well, being that I just moved here about a year ago, just slightly over that,
No.
I wouldn't say I would have a clue very much, but yeah, that's, I wouldn't really know.
Okay, that's perfectly fair. Jackie?
I think I would do things differently. What I've watched from the board level is that if they made a decision for certain, maybe some trustees were stronger on something than someone else, they still all came together and they were able to coordinate it to how, it was being responded to by the village. So, for instance, working with the budget and all the other things that had been happening, EMS, it's all necessary for the village to be in direction.
Thank you. And the last question, serving on the village board is a team sport. How would you effectively be a team player when topics and votes don't go your way? How would you effectively be a team player even when topics and votes don't go your way?
it's not a question of me or I, it's a team. This is the village. And we have a board for a reason. I'm not here as a voice except for the people. So if something would happen that I didn't particularly agree with, that's my opinion. My own opinion stays separate from what the village opinion is. So if it's something ahead that the village can work together on, is there something that could be improved upon? That's something that a board as a unit works together to come to a conclusion.
Okay, thank you. Shane?
Yeah, kind of the same lines, obviously, we're all gonna have our opinions, before it comes to making decisions. Being respectful of, hey, I'm the minority here, making sure if you talk about it, you put all options on the table, but, obviously respecting the process and understanding that we are a team in the end, and, there's no reason to fight unreasonably if, everyone's pretty much in agreement, so.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the trustees have any other questions that they've thought of as we've talked with the candidates? I'm sorry? That's outside of the range of the way this works. Sorry.
I have a question for both of you. Whose turn is it, Jack?
I think Shane goes first this time.
Well, this is same for both of you. Would you handle a situation like we're dealing with, raising the rate considerably with, sewer plants and water bills? And that's something that we've wrestled about, both that it's raising a lot of money. And secondly, is that we can't not do it, and whatever. That probably goes in with one of the questions on the top, when things don't go your way. How would you handle something like that? Because you'll get complaints from people who think you're raising rates too high. You get complaints from people who think, well, it's about time we start fixing it, and grab that number.
So it's how would I handle raise and whatnot, but
How would you raise the subject of doing that? After working 2 years on it, we've come up with all the details and really worked on it. And, most of the board, the majority of the board, agreed that we needed to do what we chose to do.
We needed to increase the sewer rate by about 23%,
And that's not popular.
obviously.
Handling unpopular things would probably be a simple way of putting your question.
yeah. That's just an example or anything else, in terms of what's popular, what's a big complaint, I think, nothing, as I would enter into a new seat, nothing should be off the table in terms of revisiting the discussion, to make sure it's, for example, I might offer a fresh perspective that maybe someone hasn't, thought about, mentioned, whatever the case may be, so. Definitely worth revisiting for sure, but there's no reason why, again, if, obviously it's a team, so if there's a majority opinion that, you play the team and you do what's best in the eyes of the majority.
When you stop and think about it, the average person is gonna look at it and say, why? Why is it so much? What they don't understand is that the process of what's been taken care of and the age of the facility, for example, with this. Anytime there's a tax increase, it has to be within a certain amount. Obviously, for the wastewater treatment plant, it's come to a situation where it's old and it's failing and everything needs to be taken care of. Now, with regard to, if somebody asked me, I would say, we're only spending what needs to be spent, and it's doing it in stages so that it's not all at once. We can, what they deem and tell us, ENR, et cetera, the officials, tell our municipality it has to be done. It needs to be done. And yes, we are looking at the total amount of what we're spending. I'm a taxpayer too.
Thank you both.
Mm.
Rick?
So this is gonna sound a lot like the third question, but it's not. I believe in knowing the why. Why are we doing something? You know, don't just tell me to do something, tell me why I'm doing something. So when it comes to your desire to sit on this board, what's your why?
I would say.
Yeah, we'll go with you.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say for me, I'm kind of going back to my initial comments, just making sure that you guys are man of faith, there's some good representation, taking care of the flock, making good decisions based on what's right. And, you know, again, get involved in making sure that, you're kind of being a sheepdog for the flock, if that makes sense. Protect people from, you know, what could arise, in terms of, you know, whether it's predatory behavior, malicious behavior, not saying there's any, but, you know, just making sure there's a man of moral character on board. I don't know if anyone else is favorite like that.
I look at it from the standpoint of, people have to run the community, and a lot of people are older. We have a lot of people that were involved for many years in a lot of organizations in the community. They mentioned to me, look, I'm too old to do this. Would you consider following through and, you know, try and be a trustee and be our voice? And that's what it is. I want to be there so that people that can't have a voice as well. And it's a good combination then, because every single person on board is their own individual and has their own viewpoint. And how we all work together is how we got to the conclusion. So to me, it's being a representation of people and following through how to get our community to have our best foot forward and explain it to people and have them be able to understand it and all work together.
Yeah. You know, maybe younger guy, I think that, it's not a positive or negative statement on age, but two, having like a fresh perspective from maybe a different age group in some of those decisions as well as part of the reason I want to get involved at a younger age.
Thank you both. Anybody else? Any other trustees have a question? Then their discussion?
It was a tough decision, really, a couple good candidates. We got the experience over here, she's been here, been in the village a long time. But again, we have a fresh perspective on this side. When I joined this board 7 years ago, I was one of the board for Josh, when you were alongside me, I would have been one of the youngest people on the board at that time. 7 years ago, I'm not anymore. So I appreciate the value of a different perspective as well. So I gotta weigh both of those. It's not gonna be an easy decision.
You mentioned one more thing. I'm mid-level in age right now. But I have kids in town that range from 21 to 30. And they hear what their friends say and all the young people say, and they make comments to me and say, why don't we have this? Why don't we do that? It's a lot of different things. We'd like to get more involved. Why don't you have this? So it's not just a perspective of I've experienced. I hear a lot of things from all different ages.
To be clear, my statement had nothing to do with age. It was just you've been in the village a long time, since '92, you said. You've come from somewhere else, maybe you bring some knowledge from outside in and make a change, rather than have them, you know, continue with the same paradigms that we may have been stuck in. Whereas, you know, you've been on it. And so you've had a chance to do something too, so. But, you know, that goes to experience versus fresh eyes on it. So, it's nothing to do with age at all. And I've got kids too, so that's how I look at it too, so. You know,
Right.
so I can appreciate your perspective as
Right,
well.
fall in different areas, I mean. Some of my kids went to school here. Some of my kids went to school in West Bend. I have family in Sheboygan, I have family in small other communities, so I've been following what these small communities to large cities have been doing as well. And, because they have a lot of similar problems that we do.
Said you were on the board previously, when were you on the board?
And that was 1998. We wanted to make sure that somebody ran for the position, so I did run for trustee. And I did get that position, and then, there was an opening for president, we didn't know who was running, so Don ran and I ran. I wanted to make sure that we would have a president as well, not that we have a vacant seat. After that, I did not run anymore because I did have small kids at the time. My husband was in the military, he just retired recently, and at one point, I had littles with me and he was in Iraq, so if we stayed with politics for a while. And that's
Bouncing off of what Jackie just said, Shane, how is the time commitment gonna fit into your life? The time commitment for being a trustee? Do you have children that are going to have concerts or whatever that you might want to go to and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so, my wife and I currently have no children, so there isn't as much going on. Yeah, we both work obviously, but, I shouldn't have an issue making, you know, some, sessions, so. As for the case, maybe.
Sure. Okay, thank you. I mentioned that because there's a meeting next week that interferes with two of our, trustees, kids' school events anyway, so. Just wanted to explain why there was.
Yeah,
giggling
that's
here.
why we do have conflicts, with,
Yeah.
you know, concerts or soccer games or whatever. Sometimes we can't make it, and sometimes we accommodate. It happens, former president had several kids and managed it, so. It's not a disqualification.
Any other discussion?
I've got a question on each. I'm planning this to be my last term. After the end of this term that I'm just starting, I will have 30 years on the board. And I came on with Jackie. I was on a couple years before you. And the average age of the trustees will really take a dive when I leave, so. One of the things that I've been trying to do, and I've spoke to Dan about this a few times too, over the years, is to get the board to the point where it's not all run by boomers. And it wasn't that long ago that it was just full baby boomers. And when I see myself coming in, there, is that right? I've got
Just,
should be on.
yeah, just pull it forward a little bit, Don, if you can't get close enough. Yeah.
There you go.
Hello. Because I have to swallow the mic. I've got a congestion. The thing that I talked about was that when I view things come in before us. And I find myself over the last year or so running into the wall on two particular votes where it was just mainly blindsided as far as what I thought the rest of the board was thinking. And it turned out to me to realize that it's more of a generational thing than anything. So I've been trying to get younger people on the board. You know, my saying is, well, it's about time they start playing in their own sandbox, you know, or running their own sandbox. I think it's time that I step down and I be replaced by someone who's younger than me and whatever. I started in 96. I had no experience in government or anything like that. And in 97, I was elected village president. And it was kind of a learning curve. And you'll notice that no matter who jumps on the board, there's going to be a learning curve. Jackie's got experience on the old board with the way all of us, were back then. There would probably be a learning curve of some type to jump onto the new board with the younger kids. Sorry, I didn't mean kids. But, I believe the best fit for what we should be looking for would be someone who comes in fresh and learns, doesn't carrying a bunch of mistakes along with him, that he has to be retrained and things of that nature. I think that's very important, something that we should look at. So that's the age thing as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, trustee Dorber. Any other discussion, commentary, observation? Is there a motion to put this to a voice vote or a motion to put this to a ballot?
Well, it doesn't necessarily need to be motion, but it's whatever you guys
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah, why don't we just run the ballots out and see what we get?
All right, sounds good.
Okay, team, my favorite thing. I'll give everybody a couple in case we have time.
And Michelle, do they currently have names on them or not?
They do not.
Yeah, so each of the trustees and village president, if you could please write your name on the top of the ballot. And then vote the ballot and then fold it up and Michelle will collect it. One time, one vote.
This candidate got 2 votes and this candidate got 4 votes.
Alrighty. So the results of the ballot. Jackie Burmish got 2 votes. Shane Vanru got 4 votes. Thank you both for taking part in the process and for putting yourself forward. It's appreciated. And there will be another election next year, Jackie, so, certainly consider running again. Okay. I believe the next step is appointment of the village trustee, Shane
I think
Van Roo.
At this point, we do need a motion,
Right?
okay, and then we'll take a vote. And then we'll swear Shane in.
All right, is there a motion to appoint the trustee, the new village trustee, Shane Van Roo?
Make a motion to appoint Shane Van Roo to the vacant village trustee position.
Is there any discussion? All right, then I'll put the question. All in favor?
Right,
Aye. All opposed? All abstaining? The ayes have it. Congratulations.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Shane Van Bergen, having been appointed to the office of village trustee, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That will support the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
faithfully discharge the duties
of said office to the best of my ability,
of said office to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
yeah, you're stuck.
Yeah, you're ready to start it now. So I printed you a packet.
Yep.
So you can, we'll issue you an iPad, but you can follow along. We're right here. So we've just gotten finished here. We're on number 5. And you'll follow along, and then all of the supporting materials are here. So you can just like flip through it as we go along.
Thank you.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the April 17th, 2025 Village Board of Trustees organizational and regular meetings. Approve the general fund, water and sewer invoices. Appointment of Michelle Johnson, village clerk, as alternate representative to the Mid-Moraine Municipal Court, and appointment of Jeremy Pfeiffer as commercial building inspector. I believe we have a comment from Administrator Jenkins.
Sure, just 2 quick things. The first one is in the invoices. It was a hot topic at last year's finance committee, so I just wanted to bring it up. In the fire fund, we have a line item for our donations that we give to the fire association for their annual banquet. That line item was capped at 3,000. We received the invoice from the fire department. It's a little over, it's about 3,500. So I just want to make sure that you still felt comfortable with that, even though we set that cap. So if you would like, if you don't, and you want to take that out, then we can move that to an actionable item later on in the agenda to discuss. Otherwise, just leave it in there. We can get it approved. And then the other point was on the commercial building inspector with Roger Keeson retiring. We were able to find a new inspector, which we're really excited about. Jeremy is a very qualified guy. He's been doing this for years. He has his own business. This is what he does, is help municipalities with commercial inspection. He's ready to jump on board. In fact, he got sent plans already, and he's not even technically working for us yet. So, but huge thank you to Jeremy for helping us out. And I thank Roger Keeson again for that transition.
Thank you, Administrator Jenkins. Was there any discussion regarding anything that Administrator Jenkins brought up? Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
it. Right,
Aye. All opposed? Abstaining? The ayes have it. No, I did not.
Oh, sorry.
no, it's-
I called it abstaining.
Oh, Sam, sorry.
Sorry, but I didn't. I don't think I said all abstaining.
Okay.
All right, so. Our next item is presentations. Motion to approve resolutions of gratitude for former President Daniel Gerke, trustees Tiffany Bartz and Kurt Miley, long-serving Village Department of Public Works employee Rick Raybuck, long-serving Commercial Building Inspector Roger Keeson, and former Village Treasurer Melissa Depies. Depies. And we have presentations. Should we start with,
So if we could start with the motion to approve
Oh,
all of those.
all right.
And get that portion out of the way, and then we will,
Then we'll
do
do-
individual
all right.
presentations.
so is there a motion to approve these resolutions?
Motion to
approve resolutions of gratitude.
Do we have a second?
second,
All in favor of approving these resolutions? Aye. All opposed? All abstaining? Yeah, I said that. All right, trustee Begley, would you please read the resolution of gratitude for former President Gerke?
So I have the honor of, reading one for Dan, so. Whereas Daniel Gerke was elected as a village trustee from April 2019 to 2023. And then as village president from April 2023 to 2025. Faithfully representing his constituents in the village of Fredonia for 6 years. And whereas during Daniel Gerke's tenure on the village board, he served as chair of the Plan Commission, Board of Review, Parks and Recreation Committee, and Public Safety Committee, and as a member of the Economic Development Committee, Fredonia Government Center Commission, and the best committee of all, Technology Committee. And the 150th Anniversary Celebration Committee. Whereas Daniel Gerke exemplified outstanding leadership as village president, devoting a substantial portion of his time for the betterment of the and enrichment of the citizens of Fredonia, including involvement in economic development projects as a key player for the creation and funding of the PWSB splash zone coming soon, and attending village events and networking opportunities, even if he caused them to get grayed out. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, Ozaki, Wisconsin, honors Daniel Gerke and expresses its deep appreciation for his dedicated service. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Begley. Trustee Eppert. Is that correct? Eppert, would you please read the resolution for former trustee Tiffany Bartz?
Was elected as village president from April 2023 to 2025, faithfully representing her constituents in the village of Fredonia for 2 years, and whereas during Tiffany Bart's tenure on the village board, she served as chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee and the 150th Anniversary Celebration Committee, and as a member of the Finance Committee. Whereas Tiffany Bartz exemplified outstanding leadership as a village trustee, devoting a substantial portion of her time for the betterment and enrichment of the citizens of Fredonia, including organizing and attending village events, aiding in key fundraising efforts, and updating the village parks and open space plan. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, Ozaki County, Wisconsin, honors Tiffany Bartz and expresses its deep appreciation for her dedication, her dedicated service.
Thank you, trustee. Trustee Dorwart, please read the resolution for former trustee Kurt Miley.
This resolution honoring Kurt Miley Senior. Whereas Kurt Miley Senior was elected as village trustee from April 2023 to 2025. Faithfully representing his constituents in the village of Fredonia for 2 years. And whereas Kurt Miley's tenure, during Kurt Miley's tenure on the village board, he served as chair of the Public Safety Committee and as a member of the Joint Fire EMS Paramedic Committee and Public Works Committee. Whereas Kurt Miley exemplified outstanding leadership as a village trustee, devoting substantial portions of his time for the betterment and enrichment of the citizens of Fredonia, including the creation of all support, the creation and support of the joint ALS paramedic level program. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, Ozark County, Wisconsin, honors Kurt Miley Senior and expresses its deep appreciation for his dedicated service. Passed and approved this first day of May 2025.
Last but not least.
Thank you, trustee Dorwart. Trustee Searing, if you would please read the resolution of gratitude for former Village Department of Public Works employee Rick Raybuck.
A resolution honoring Richard Raybuck. Whereas Richard Raybuck was an employed member of the Village of Fredonia as a DPW crew person from October 2013 to 2025, faithfully serving the Village of Fredonia for nearly 13 years. And whereas throughout his career, Richard Raybuck demonstrated a strong commitment to his work, including his passion for enhancing the community's Christmas display at Freedom Park, his expertise in maintaining and repairing village equipment, and his successful completion of the Fireman's Park Bridge project. He was known for his resourcefulness, reliability, and deep knowledge of the village's operations, all of which made him an invaluable asset to the team. And whereas Richard Raybuck exemplified outstanding teamwork and was a devoted employee, consistently dedicating his time and efforts towards the betterment of the village and its citizens. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, Ozark County, Wisconsin, honors Richard Raybuck and expresses its deep appreciation for his dedicated service. Passed and approved this first day of May 2020.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you, trustee Searing. Trustee Van Roo, if you would please read the resolution of gratitude for the former commercial building inspector, Roger Kilson.
A resolution honoring Roger Keeson. Whereas Roger Keeson was an employed member for the Village of Fredonia as the village's commercial building inspector, faithfully serving the Village of Fredonia for over a decade. And whereas Roger Keeson has had a long career in public service, serving as both the commercial and residential inspector, countless municipalities, often assisting municipalities during interim periods and during times of transition, and overseeing hundreds of thousands of dollars of new assessed value within the village. And whereas Roger Kissin exemplified outstanding teamwork and was a devoted appointed employee, consistently dedicating his time and efforts toward the betterment of the village and its citizens. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, Ozaukee County, Wisconsin, honors Roger Kissin and expresses its deep appreciation for his dedicated service.
People there.
Thanks, Miles.
Thank you, trustee Van Roo. You're doing here. Trustee Frank, would you please read the resolution of gratitude for former village treasurer Melissa Depius?
Not here. Where? Melissa Duffy is under a political Fredonia as village treasurer from January 2022 to 2025, faithfully serving the village of Fredonia for 3 years, and whereas Melissa Duffy had a long career in public service, having previously worked for the village of Grafton before joining the village of Fredonia. Her time with Fredonia was marked by a period of learning and collaboration between staff and elected officials, helping to guide the village through a challenging time of turnover. Her knowledge and guidance were instrumental in ensuring continuity and success of the village's operation. And whereas Melissa Depies exemplified outstanding teamwork and was a devoted employee, specifically dedicating her time and efforts toward the betterment of the village and its citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, Ozaukee County, Wisconsin, honors Melissa Depies and expresses its deep appreciation for dedicated service.
Thank you, trustee Frank. The next item on the agenda are items for action and or discussion, and the first of these is a motion to approve the policies and procedure manual that was presented to this board in the previous meeting. Is there any discussion of the policy and procedures manual? Is there a motion to approve the policies and procedure manual?
Motion to approve policies and procedures manual.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, I'll put the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? All right, it's passed. The second item, motion to approve resolution 2025-10, resolution of the Village of Fredonia Board to support federal immigration law enforcement and review immigration-related public services data, sponsored by trustee Beglin. So. Yeah.
Yes,
Policy.
it is a very long name.
And I actually read through it earlier. That's why I was so quick to motion. All right, so introduction.
Yeah.
Okay. So this came about recently when our state level leadership issued some very vague guidance to the state employees, and possibly in some people's opinion, it was not even legal. You could get employees into legal trouble if they follow it, followed by the arrest of a judge, which might have been following that guidance. I respect and care for law enforcement on all levels. So I want to make sure that our village employees and staff and all departments have clear guidance on how to interact should we be in a similar situation. So I've worked with others to draft this resolution. Others that have been in state government and other advisory roles to come up with this and kind of massage it to the village of Fredonia. So that's where it comes from. Entertain the conversation.
I'll just,
There's no motion.
I would like to move to adopt resolution 2025-10.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there discussion? All right. Wow. Put the question. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstaining? The motion's passed. So the resolution's passed. The next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action on fire department sleeping quarters build out. Administrator Jenkins, would you? Oh,
I think actually the fire chief was gonna take this one.
Fire chief?
You want to? Yep.
So we put $100,000 in budget to build up a storage room at the firehouse for our 24/7 paramedics. We have three full-time at the end, when we're done with this program, fully staffed at this program, we'll have 3 full-time and 3 part-time staff. So this will take a storage room that we have in the firehouse currently. That was initially intended to be sleeping quarters eventually at some point in time. We did the firehouse back in 2017. And we'll build it out with 3 separated sleeping rooms in there for our paramedics to have sleeping quarters. That storage space, the stuff that's in there now currently will move up to the mezzanine in the truck bay. We will wall off an area up there that'll be secured and clean from the truck exhaust and stuff up there. We had 2 quotes come in. We had Quachus Construction out of Sheboygan. They're the original builders of the firehouse. Their quote came in at $89,200. And then CG Schmidt out of Milwaukee, their quote came in for $87,875. However, they did not include any architectural drawings or plans for that. So typically, we'll see 10% of that for 10% of the total construction cost. We usually be what the architectural fees are. So I put in $9,000 a budget item for a budget number for architectural drawing. So CD Schmidt came in at $96,875. So I recommend that we pick Cautious Construction to continue on and start phase 1, phase 2, which are the planning and design part of it, and then continue on with construction. I do not know what the timeline is. I did talk to them recently about what their timeline is, how long it's going to take to do the project for $89,200.
Discussion?
I'll just add quick that typically for construction projects, we add our own 10% contingency to give ourselves some wiggle room. So if you guys are in favor of that, that would add $8,920 on top of the 89 when we have 100 in the budget. So maybe just say not to exceed 100,000.
Not to
I
exceed
think
100,000.
That's fair. Yep.
I'll motion to approve the work on the fire department sleeping quarters build out with not to exceed $100,000
And awarding it to Quashis.
and awarding it to Cautious Construction. There's a second?
One second.
Any discussion?
I'm curious, this sleeping or the storage room, does this already have windows in it?
Storage room has 2 windows in it, and it has a dual exit door to the outside.
Will the 2 like sleeping quarters have access to the windows?
No, so the windows, no, that's going to be a top corridor, and then the rooms will be separate in. So there'll be a corridor that's going to come in from the firehouse, go along the exterior wall of the building, you'll be able to exit out, and then there'll be rooms on this side.
Does that fall into any, I mean, does that fall into codes? I mean, I know like residential housing bedrooms have to have a window for escape, so.
The commercial properties, I believe, have to have a smoke detector in sleeping quarters, so each one of the rooms will have a smoke detector and there'll be an audible fire alarm. That'll be tied into our existing fire alarm system. Sprinkler also with each bedroom, sprinkler.
Where do they, because we currently have paramedics there, where are they currently?
In the office, that was in. You don't get to fall out of bed.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, I'm not used to this whole end of the room being men. Was that you asking those questions?
Yeah, sorry.
DJ.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
You want to sit here next time?
No, no, certainly not.
All right, well, if there are no more questions, I will put the question to you. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All abstaining? Motion passes.
Sorry, they say how long it's going to take.
No, I don't have the time.
You said that. That was stated originally, that there was not a time limit. All right, the next item, discussion and possible action on replacement of the marshal's office roof. Administrator Jenkins?
This is what I could think. So we went out to bid per our CIP for the replacement of Marshall's office roof. We had $50,000 in that line item. We received two bids. One is from PhD Roof Doctors and the other is from BRH Enterprises. Both of them quoted similar roofs. PhD gave us two different qualities, I guess, of roof. Director Paulus and I reviewed them both and we felt that the lower one would still be sufficient. We also added in the replacement of gutters, which are sorely needed, and considering that price, it was an easy yes for us. So when you add that all together, plus contingency, PhD Roof Doctors came in as the lowest qualified bidder at $30,878, and we would recommend approval.
Discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the replacement of the Marshall office room. Not to exceed $35,000.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not to exceed $35,000 to our very local
Yeah.
business, PhD Roof Doctors.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Is there any further discussion?
Other than the fact that I think it's really.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Were you? Did you want to say something? No, okay. No, he saw you move the. Okay. All right, if there are no questions or discussion, I will put the question. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstaining? The motion passed. The next item on the agenda, discussion on purchase and sale of public properties involving parcel numbers 090500100900, comma. Should I read them all? Okay. I want to make sure
If you
we
want
follow
to.
the rules here. so.
Yeah.
Yes, parcels is listed and. All right, Administrator Jenkins.
Yep. So as we remember with the new guidance and new legal interpretation of closed session, we need to just make sure everybody's comfortable for why we're going into closed session tonight. So the reason we're going into closed session is because we'll be discussing the sale or purchase of public property. And because we're negotiating on that, I'm asking that we go into closed session to negotiate.
Is there a motion to adjourn to closed session? Is there a second? I'll second. We need to take a roll call vote. Clerk Johnson, please call the vote.
Trustee Eipert? Sorry.
Yeah.
Trustee Frank?
Aye.
Trustee Abedler?
Aye.
President Lenz?
Aye.
Trustee Dorwart?
Aye.
Trustee Searing?
Aye.
Trustee Van Roo?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, then we are moving to closed session. We need to pause the recording.
Do you mind, Chief? So then you don't have to make another trip? And no.
And so having to do with agenda item discussion and possible action on purchase and sale of public properties involving parcel numbers listed. We have directed the staff of the village to engage in activities discussed in closed session. Next item on the agenda then is correspondence.
So the Mid-Moraine Municipal Association Legislative Committee meeting is on May 14th. And then, in addition, they sent the dinner meeting, invitation,
That's May
which I had in
28th.
my spot, May 28th.
May 28th.
The menu looks pretty good. So if you would like to attend that, please RSVP.
It's the same weeks. Parade. Next week parade.
Oh.
There's a high school parade during the day.
No,
It's
the
at
same-
the same
oh,
time.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
it is. Oh, all right.
6:30.
Shared calendar with all.
Yeah.
I think that's the last one they're gonna have until probably into September.
Well, they hold this every year right before graduation.
I think he's talking about the mid-moraine meeting.
And it's the last one of theirs until after summer.
All right, items for future consideration. No item? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, you do.
Do I have a second? All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned.